El Señor es mi bastión, mi baluarte y salvación, es mi Dios, es mi Dios, mi escudo y defensor, Salvador que libra hoy, es mi Dios, es mi Dios. El Señor me...
Well, good morning, Facebook Live. How are you guys? It's already actually, what, 12:30 almost here Pacific in beautiful Long Beach, California. It is a nice 66 degrees. I know that many parts of the country are dealing with some cold fronts, but what can we say? The Rose Parade, I think, told you everything. It's a glorious 66, as I said, and I want to talk to you today about 3 crucial questions that you must answer if you want to succeed in 2018. Success isn't just going to happen. You have to think about certain things. You have to think differently. And so I want to encourage you to leave me a comment below and let me know if you have plans for 2018. Yes, give me a yes if you have a major change coming up in 2018 in your relationships, in your career, in your fitness plans. Give me a big yes if you are planning to do something different here in 2018. We're basically now, 2 days already into it. Can you believe it? It seems like time stops for no one. And here we are already into the second day. Some are back to work. Some are still maybe taking a few days off. Some are in that in-between stage. But wherever you may be today, I want to thank you for your kindness and for your time. Make sure that you share this video with your friends so that Facebook can actually work with us and we can beat them at their own game. Facebook, as you may know, has a game that it plays with videos. It only shows it, you may not know this, it only shows this feed to those who have commented before. So if you're watching me live right now, it's only because you have said hello or commented in the past. So help me out by commenting so that you can then have that feed on your timeline. And then, of course, even for future reference, you will be seeing this feed right in your phone, on your laptop, maybe even later tonight, wherever and whenever you are watching this. Thank you again for your amazing, amazing support. Whether you're on Periscope, welcome on Periscope, on YouTube. Nice to have you guys here as well. Streaming live to 3 different places: Facebook, Instagram. Actually, Instagram will come later. Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope / Twitter, so that we can be seen wherever you wherever you are. So 3 questions. Number 1, the first question that you have to ask, and let me first say that this came from an article that I was reading, but one of my mentors, his name is, let's see, not Ray Edwards, but his name is something different. I have it here. Let's see. Oh, this cut off the information of the email. So let me go back to the actual email itself, and his name is Roy Williams, not Ray Edwards. Roy Williams is the name of this this Christian author and marketing guru, and he mentioned something that I thought was pretty amazing in today's email that I received. He talks about, let me just read a little bit of it. He says, I am by profession an ad writer. So he writes copy, as it's called. He writes ads. I tell stories about people and products and services. You do too. But because I get paid for it, I spend a lot of time considering and measuring the impact of stories. Some of the stories I've told have made people an enormous amount of money. But the most important stories I tell by far are the stories I tell about myself. This is crucial. Those stories are the source of my identity and the foundation of my purpose in life. And so then he writes a few things. He says, I see something good in you, and I'm calling it out. Is it okay for me to do that? Let us stare together into the eyes of the truth. And so he has 7 things that he feels and considers the truth. He says, number 1, whether good or bad, your current circumstances are temporary. Number 2, success is temporary. Number 3, failure is temporary. That's probably good news for most of us, right? Number 4, your future depends on your desires. No, excuse me, your future depends on your choices. Number 5, your choices, depend on what you believe. Number 6, what you believe is not determined by what you see and hear, but by how you interpret what you see and hear. And then it says how you interpret what you see and hear, this is the 7th one, is determined by the stories you tell yourself about yourself. And so I love these 3 questions. An amazing way to think about your life. He says you have to think about what you believe about yourself. And that, according to this mentor, is what will determine your success in 2018. How you think about yourself, not your circumstances, not what other people are doing to you or against you. And so now, what are these 3 questions that are very important? So I want to read them to you, and I want you to think about them yourself. Now, you might be a very practical individual, and you don't like to think about these kinds of things. If you're practical, then we will talk about some practical tips on what you can do. But if you like to think and ponder life, like most people tend to do, then these will be perfect. Number 1, the first question, and then I'm going to actually give you my answers, not so that you can be like me, of course, but that you can just see how people can answer these questions and you can compare notes. Number 1, the first question is, what do you believe yourself to be? What do you believe yourself to be? Number 2 is, what do you believe about this world that we live in? What do you believe about this world that we live in? About your world. And then the third question is, what does the future hold? What does the future hold? So once again, let me repeat these 3 questions. Number 1 is, what do you believe yourself to be? No, excuse me, not what. Who? Who do you believe yourself to be? Number 2, what do you believe about this world we live in? And then third, what does the future hold? And then he says your mood, your attitude, and what happens to you next will be greatly impacted by your answers to those questions. So now, let me just go into how most people tend to answer these questions, okay? And I would say if you answer these questions in the way that I'm going to describe, no wonder you are losing at life, if I can just be honest, okay? There are reasons why you are losing at life. I'm not saying that you're a loser, so please don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there are reasons why your life is going nowhere. Can I just be GOZOtv honest, right? And it comes down to what you believe about yourself, not about your circumstances. Okay, so here's how, as you know, I'm a pastor. I've dealt with people my whole life. And here is, from my own analysis, how most people view themselves and the world and their future. Number 1, it says, who do you believe yourself to be? Most people believe themselves to be victims of their circumstances. If you believe yourself to be a victim of circumstances, your choices, of where you live, of how you grew up, of who you lost, or who doesn't love you, or whatever, you are losing at life. That's what I've seen through 20, 30 years of working with people. That's the number 1 thing I hear. Number 2, it says the question is, what do you believe about this world we live in? What I hear mostly is people think that this world is out to get them. That this world is against them. That God is against them. That your boss or that the government or your bills are out to get you. I would say that most people, maybe 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people are losing at life because this is their attitude about the world they live in. They think that the world is out to get them. And then number 3, it says here, the third question is, what does the future hold? Most people that I talk to, 30 years of ministry, working with people, thousands and thousands, if not millions of people. You know what I think most people would say about that last question? What does the future hold? The same old thing as last year. Most people will maybe say things differently in public, but the way that they act, what their actions actually tell me, is that they believe that their future will be just as bad as their past. Now, I'm not revealing any mystery here, right? I mean, you probably are feeling a bit convicted. I hope you are, because this is common. This is why people fail at life, in their relationships, in their finances. They're always looking for a way out of their mess. If you find yourself constantly cutting corners or having to lie your way out of your last lie, it's because you think these things about yourself. Now, I'm not going to go into, now there's another way to look at life that I think is just as, I'm not going to call it empty, but I'm going to call it, it's just as maybe naive or innocent, or maybe I'll say empty. Okay. And I may offend some people with this, but hear me. I think that people that say that they are beloved of God, or that they are loved by God, or that they are children of God, they can equally be as disconnected from their lives as the first person that I mentioned, okay? I know that it maybe offends some people, because I think a lot of Christians believe that to know that you are loved by God is everything. I believe that that is the foundation, but that isn't the end of your life. And so I can go into that in many ways, but let me just stick to how I answer those questions. And then of course you can then make up your own mind on how you can answer those questions differently. Okay, so here's just a little bit of how I answered those questions. I actually posted this on my other page, my public page. So I'm going to just read that really quick. Here's how I answered these questions as honestly as I could, as far as what do I see or what do I believe about myself and all that stuff. Okay, so let me just look it up here real quick. So on my normal page, my other one, I wrote them on there. So here we go. Number 1, I wrote, what do I believe myself to be? Or who do I believe myself to be? And these are just my truths. And I have like 6 or 7 words here. Number 1, successful, handsome, gifted, beautiful, a genius, bright, loved by God, loved by my wife, and loved by my mother. That is how I view myself. Now, remember, I didn't say that to know that you're loved by God isn't important. It's in there. But I don't stop there, because to me, to be loved by God, by your mom, by your kids, that's the foundation that you must have. If you don't have that, then yes, you're building your house upon sand. Everything else is going to fall apart. So let me make sure that you hear me clearly on this. You have to have an awareness that you are loved by God, that you are loved by your mom, that you're loved by your family, that you have that support underneath you. But what else? Besides that, I view myself as successful, as beautiful. What else did I say on here? As gifted, as genius, bright, successful. That's how I view myself. Regardless of what kind of day I'm having, or what my bank account says, or what my church numbers are. I view myself, when I look in the mirror, that's what I see looking back at me. Number 2, and maybe I'll tell you where that comes from, okay? Maybe I'll wrap up with that. Number 2, what do you believe about this world that we live in? Well, here's my honest answer. I believe that this world is good, beautiful, full of opportunities, and full of wealth. That's how I see the world. And you may say, well, you live in the States. Do you know how many people that live in the States think differently? Think that they're victims, that the world is out to get them, the government or Trump or Obama or the state laws. So don't tell me that it's because I live here or because you live there or because you don't have what I have. It's about what's in here. It's about what is in here. I honestly believe that what's in your heart has to eventually move up here. Or maybe it's the other way. I don't really know how that works. But you have to eventually think differently. It's not knowledge. It's not information. It's not magic. It's how you view yourself. And then we'll talk about where does this come from in case you don't think this way about yourself. And then the third question that my mentor was asking is, what does the future hold? What does the future hold? And I wrote more success, more opportunities, and more good things. That truly is how I think about my life, about my future. I truly believe that the future holds more opportunities, more good things, and more success for me, for my family, and therefore for the world. Now, my sister's asking, how do you change a job? Do you think a change of jobs would be necessary to help yourself feel you're improving? No, I don't think that your circumstances are going to change your message in here. And that's the first question that he asks. He says, how do you view yourself? And so a wrong mentality, if I can say it that way, a loser mentality. I'm not saying that people are losers or winners. So just hear me on this. A lower level of thinking is a new guy will make me happy. A better job will make me succeed. More money will make me see. So anytime that you go from the outside in, you are already losing at life. You are already losing at life. The minute that you look outside of yourself for success, outside of your mind and of, as I said, of how God views you, of the support of your family and all that stuff, the minute that you are going outside in, you are losing at life. Because then everything is dependent upon somebody else's opinion on whether that guy gives you that job or whether that woman says hello to you or not. But when you go inside out, then you are actually the one to win over people. You're going to bring something to that interview because you're bringing what's inside of you. Why do people give me jobs? It's not because they are nice or because they want to help me. I have never met an employer who wanted to hire me to help me. Ever. No one gives you a job because they want to help you. They give you a job because they want you to help them. 100%. The rest are just circumstances. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. So in other words, if you want to get that job, you have to bring something to them. And that's what this guy's talking about, is having something in you, inside out, as I call it. You have to be an inside out person. Outside in people that lose at life. They never lose weight. They never make more money. They never have relationships that last because they're always looking outside in. Now, how do we change that mentality? If you are an outside in kind of person. Well, I think the biggest lesson really is pain. But let me just say this, it's pain with perseverance, maybe is another way to put it. Maybe the 3 P's, if I can just think this through here on my head, top of my head, is pain, perseverance, and then productivity. Maybe that would be the 3rd P. How do you change being an outside-in person towards being an inside-out person? First, you have to experience pain. And guess what? This is the easiest one, right? Who among us hasn't experienced pain? So we all get an A on that one, right? But here's where people fail at life. Number two, what did I say? Is perseverance. This is where people quit. They don't persevere. They don't persevere because they go back to outside in, outside in. They think, well, you didn't make me happy. You didn't pick up the milk. You didn't love me enough. You didn't offer me enough benefits at my last job. You didn't. Perseverance is, I am going to do this differently. I am going to grow through this pain. I am going to persevere. And then the last thing that I said is what? Productivity, right? Is that what I said? I think I said productivity. If you want to change the way that you look at life and you want to answer the questions like I have, or like successful people do, or like you want to answer these questions, you have to then produce. You can't just simply keep doing the same old thing and expect your life to be different. If you want to have a better relationship with your mom or with your friends, if you want to be a different kind of woman and you think differently about work, and you have something inside of you that people are attracted to and they want to hire you, you have to produce different results. So you have to ask yourself, have I been producing the same thing over and over again? Have I been basically just producing the same thing over and over again? The same results, same results. Nothing has changed. You have to ask yourself, is anything changing about me? Am I a more patient person, courageous? Am I more resilient? Or am I still angry at the world? I think this is the biggest thing about pain that people misunderstand. People think, oh yeah, I've been through pain. But you know, it's not about the pain. It's about the product. It's about, as the Bible says, being refined by the fire. Everyone has a fire. Everyone goes through fires. Everyone goes through divorce or loss or bankruptcy or anxiety or depression. Everyone does. What's different about me or you or people that succeed at life is that they are resilient, they persevere, and they produce different results. I was reading this thing the other day about, I think it was about perseverance. And the guy was saying, in the last 10 years, have you lived the same life every year, or have you lived differently every year? At first, it confused me a bit. Maybe this is confusing to you, but his point was this. You can live the same way for 10 years. So let's just talk about weight. Let's say you weigh 160 pounds, okay, if you're a female, or 170 pounds. So you could say, oh, look at me, I've made so much progress the last 10 years. But if your goal was to lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds and weigh 150, and yet for the last 10 years, you've been at 160, 160, 160, 161, 165, 162. For the last 10 years, you've been the same person. You can't say that you've made progress. And that's just a simple example. But let's say you want to be more patient. You want to be more courageous. You want to be less anxious. The point of this thing that I was reading is you can, just because you're getting older doesn't mean you're getting wiser. Does that make sense? Just because you're getting older does not mean that you're getting smarter or you're making better decisions. It just means that you're making the same mistakes as you get older. Does that make sense? I mean, isn't that the truth, right? Isn't that what happens to most people? They just keep getting older and older, making the same mistakes over and over again, right? Same thing. Status quo, right? They live the same kind of life every year. I don't want to live the same way that I did 5 years ago, even last year. I want to succeed. I want to make more money. I want to grow my church. I want to accomplish great things. Now, if you have given up on life, that's a whole different subject. That could be something else. But if you want to change your life, then you have to go from the inside out. So again, let me just ask these questions, okay? And maybe think clearly about them for the next day or so. Don't waste your life thinking about these questions. Just think about them on the spot, maybe even right here. If you're watching this video now or maybe later this day. Number one, who do you believe yourself to be? And perhaps you're not yet at the place where I'm at, where I can say, I'm successful. I consider myself a successful, bright, and handsome man. Intelligent, bright. In spite of things that I've gone through, in spite of that, I continue to believe that about myself because it's inside out. What do you think about yourself? Don't tell me great things if they're not true. Don't tell me amazing things, and don't also get so low. Don't think so negatively. Try to be accurate. Try to be accurate in how you perceive yourself. Now, let me say this, because I was talking to Rochelle about this, my wife, earlier. I was going through this with her in the car. Saying this about myself does not mean that I don't have moments of insecurity, fear, and anxiety. It does not preclude some of my doubts. In fact, some of my doubts perhaps push me even further into my greatness, into what I believe myself to be. And so I think what I have found, though, and maybe this is just God-given, maybe this is just what I've learned, I don't know where this comes from, but this is my reality. Even if I fail at my circumstances, even if my church never grows, even if I lose all my money and I lose my health and my marriage and everything, God forbid, I will continue to believe that I am a successful, beautiful, handsome, amazing, genius person. That's just how I think. And so, to me, every one of us can get there. You can get there. Thinking this way is not just for 1 out of 1,000 people. Every one of us can learn to think positively about ourselves. How? The 3 P's. Pain, but don't waste your pain. Persevere, and then third, produce. Be different because of your pain. Number 2, right? The question is again, what do you believe about this world? I'm not sure why people think the world is bad or out to get them. You may think, well, are you blind? Don't you see all the problems? Of course I see all the problems. North Korea, poverty, cancer, whatever. Of course I see all the things that even this last year could go wrong. There are things that in my family or with people that I love or church members that remind me how painful this world is. Jesus himself said, in this world, what? You will have many trials. He said, of course you're going to have a bunch of problems, but be of good courage. I have overcome the world. So he's basically saying, but think differently. You have to think beyond that. And so if you think that the world is bad or out to get you, or you're never going to succeed because of your boss or the laws of the land, or because of someone cheated you out of money 20 years ago, you're never going to make any money. If you're blaming your ex or blaming your kids or blaming the weather, you're always going to live on Failure Street, as I call it here, instead of living on Gozo Street. Gozo Street is about believing the best of your future. And it's not being naive. Now, am I idealistic? Yes. Is my nature to be more positive? Yes. Some people maybe are more apt to be negative, to be half glass empty people. Okay, so what? You can grow. You can use that to your advantage. Being negative sometimes can turn into being a fixer of problems. Unfortunately, most people that are negative, what happens? They die negative people. They die complaining. So let me just wrap up with this. Stop wasting your time. You're not getting any younger. None of us are. Now we're in our 40s, mid 40s. We're going to be 50 in just a blink of an eye, right? And then, man, life gets faster, right? Stop wasting your time blaming people, thinking everyone's against you, feeling sorry for yourself, feeling like you don't have what other people have. Instead, move forward. Think differently about yourself. Use your pain for a positive, use your pain for good. Produce, change, Or persevere, the 3 P's that I mentioned: pain, perseverance, and productivity or production. So practically speaking, I told you I was going to give you some practical tips. Well, something that I'm doing in my own life to persevere more is I'm reading the Bible every morning. You may think, well, you're a pastor. Come on now. Just because I'm a spiritual leader doesn't mean that I'll read the Bible every day, or that I'm believing it, or that it's getting into my heart. So every morning, the last 2 weeks, I've been reading Psalm 59 in the car, at home, at 7 a.m., at noon, whatever, whenever I can. The same Psalm every morning. That works for me. It may not work for you. Another thing that I'm doing to persevere is I'm connecting with more people. I am happy by myself, or just with my wife and kids. I am a happy man. Put a dog next to me and a guitar, forget it. I'm good. But I'm learning to connect deeply with a few friends that I have. What other ways am I getting out of my comfort zone? Well, I've been through therapy and spiritual directors. I mean, I've spent probably $10,000 with mentors. I read, I listen to podcasts, watch videos. This is not about me. I'm just giving you examples of what you can do. You say, I'm broke. Most of these things are free. Yeah, some of them were expensive, but most of them were free. This video here is free, right? But you have to act. This is not paying. This is not costing you anything. Yeah, okay, your Wi-Fi feed or whatever, but that's about it. You can go on YouTube and spend an hour and it can change your life for free. And so you have to stop wasting time, stop being lazy, procrastinating, or blaming people. I know a lot of old people, and I would say it's split down the middle. Half are grumpy old people that are bitter at everything, and then half are still dreaming, still thinking of the good things in life. Guess who I want to be like? Obviously, right? We all want to die or get older and be people that are still believing. I don't want to get older into my 60s or 70s or 80s and hate people, or hate whatever, the government. But that's how people end up, right? They end up bitter old men and women. So you have a choice to make here, 2018, January 2nd. How are you going to answer those questions? Again, who do you believe yourself to be? What do you believe about this world we live in? And then what does the future hold? I hope, my prayer is that, as the Bible says, that he who began a good work in Philippians 1, he who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Christ Jesus. That's actually a promise. God will be there for you, no matter how you're doing today. He will help you through. Persevere. Don't waste your pain. Produce better results. Share this video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe to me on Periscope. Subscribe to my page. Make sure that you comment. As I said, it helps the Facebook algorithm to get my message out to more people. I'm tired of just having my poor sister here. We need to have like 1,000 people here every day, right? How? You got to help me. Share, comment. Have your friends comment. The only way that this channel will grow is not by views. It's not by sharing. It's not by thumbs up. It's only by comments. That's the only, I've studied this. Facebook only will grow channels where there are comments. Like my sister writes, hey, hola, ¿cómo estás? Questions, whatever. The only way it'll happen. Thanks again, guys. Have a great rest of this day. Adios.